welcome to the SaaS Revolution Show. I'm your host once again, Alex Theuma, CEO, founder of SaaStock. Delighted to be joined today by my guest, who is in Denmark. Is that right?
Yes,
yeah, in Denmark. Allan Mørch. Welcome,
yep.
Allan.
Thanks for having me. And you pronounced my name superb. So welcome to Denmark.
Well, good. I'll get honorary citizenship. And Allan, you're the founder and CEO of AskCody.
Yep.
What does AskCody do quickly?
AskCody is the meeting management platform that allows organizations like professional service companies, financial service companies, and large corporate offices to manage meetings smarter, easier than they do regularly. We build on top of Microsoft Productivity Suite, Microsoft 365, Outlook, etc., and help these organizations to book and schedule meetings, manage services, and welcome visitors in one simple, intuitive flow.
Very cool. All right, well, we're going to find out a little bit more about who you are, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some sort of life experience that you've had as well. You've got a great story there, and I'm glad that you're sharing it with the SaaStock community. So appreciate that. Let's start off just with you. Who is Allan Mørch?
That is a great question. I'm a Dane. I'm from Denmark. I'm 36 years old. I have two wonderful kids, and 10, 12, 13 years ago, I came up with this idea that the workplace was being extremely dysfunctional, especially in terms of navigating the workplace and finding a way around it. And I had this idea that with the GPS outside in traffic, there must be there should be an equivalent to help people navigate indoors. So I started AskCody, and we started out as a digital wayfinding company, and then later on pivoted into meeting management. I'm a cancer survivor because that's also part of my story. I love sports. I like cycling, running. I love watching my football team, my ice hockey team, my handball team. I played a ton of badminton for 20 years. Both myself played, but also coached in badminton on a really high level. I'm a little bit of everything, I think.
Am I right in that you were a professional badminton player? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, there is. I was best at being second best. So I played. I spent my entire childhood and youth playing badminton at the highest level in Denmark. Always at the sub top. I was always better at practice than in a match. And being 21, 22 or so, I decided to slow down on pushing for a career there and just play more for fun, and then spend more time at the university, and all of a sudden ending up building a company.
Cool. Well, let's talk about a little bit about building the company. I think you touched on it a little bit on your intro, but what is the founding story of AskCody?
So I was the one at university who was always at the wrong place at the wrong time, in the wrong room at the wrong class, because the campus in Aalborg at the university where I went was super big and complex, like all of the universities. My parents have spent 20 years on building a classic wayfinding company with signage and wayfinding, etc. So I have a lot of already domain knowledge and expertise in the area of helping people navigate indoors, designing navigation systems, but from classical physical signage and information systems. And one day at campus, I just thought there must be an easier way to help me be at class on time. So with my iPhone in hand, which just came out at that time, I thought there must be some application for this, and there wasn't. So I went and built one. Extreme simple maps, but that bridged the gap from the classic welcome signage at the entrance of a building and helping me navigate to the room where I needed to be. And in that phase, learned that or had the idea that instead of having very, classic wayfinding to a location, if you could make wayfinding event-based or event-driven instead, you will be able to create another way to use and leverage your workplace or your buildings. And that's how AskCody became a thing and came alive. So being a solo founder, a 23-year-old college grad on my 7th semester, all of a sudden I was the founder of a company. Luckily found some great advisors and got help from my family, my parents, and spent 2 years on refining a prototype or POC or whatever that should be called at that time, and ending up launching the wayfinding application in August 2012. Somehow, and I still can't really understand it today, Copenhagen Business School found me and wanted to have AskCody for their campus at September 1st in 2012. So 2 weeks in, we got our first paying customer, and we got 100,000 users in the first week that used our wayfinding platform to navigate campus in Copenhagen. And then it was a thing. Then I had to continue because there was a company, there was a paying customer, and there was a product. So that's how it all started. So that's spending 5 years on trying to make digital wayfinding scale, bootstrapping all the way. It was tough and hard and challenging. As I used to say, don't go into digital wayfinding. There is a reason for that. There's not really a large scale standard for that. It's because it's super complex and hard to solve with a ton of challenges, and everyone expects like blue dot navigation indoors down to a centimeters of accuracy, which is really hard and really expensive to make. We learned a lot, and we had like 100 great customers in Europe and US, but it was really hard to really make it scale. So we took a step back and started to explore, with all the knowledge and expertise that we built and all the especially like insights we got into how the workplace operates, what else could we do with this? And we looked at the market and we saw that there were some different mega trends that we wanted to bet on. First and foremost, really enterprise cloud took off like in 15, 16, really driven and accelerated by Microsoft 365 in the enterprise cloud segment. Second, the workspace was undergoing enormous change. I mean, COVID accelerated that, but these trends was already going on prior to COVID in terms of having the activity-based workplace or the hybrid workplace or the much more dynamic workplace with much more room for collaboration and a much more diverse, inclusive space that wasn't one size fits all. And the third was that customers continuously asked us if you help guests coming to our building navigate to the right room, could you take a step back and help us then schedule the meeting in the first place? And then we looked into the entire meeting scheduling space, space reservation, room booking, etc., and saw that really there was only a handful of competitors in that space that has been there for like forever and defined the space, but also had some really old tech that wasn't cloud ready. So with these three trends in mind, we decided to pivot and pivoted from digital wayfinding into a meeting room booking, meeting management, and rebuild and relaunch the entire company in January 1st, 2017, and then spend all the learnings for the first 6-7 years building a bootstrap startup to really doing it all again. Went out and raised some seed capital to help us like accelerate and bring the product to market, and then it took off January 1st, 2017.
Very cool. Lots of questions there. I guess, can you share some like data on the company? So in terms of where you are now, like how many people, how much did you raise, what's your revenue, some key KPIs.
Absolutely. So we are close to cross the $5 million ARR bar, growing at a right now steady pace between 15 and 25%. We are 30 people, most in Denmark, where we have product engineering and sales, marketing, go-to-market people, customer success, and in Boston, where we have our US headquarters. We've raised $4.3 million in venture funding with a Danish VC firm called Momentum Equity Partners, great people, and $3.7 million in debt funding with the Danish Growth Fund, which we have an excellent collaboration with as well. So all in all, $8 million in funding. Right now, EBITDA positive and overall balancing on profitability. In COVID, we went from a growth at all cost modus into a path to profitability and reached that level going into this year. So expect to have a positive result going out of this year and are completely in control of our own destiny.
Very cool. Just a quick question. What, after bootstrapping for many years, why did you decide to raise venture capital in the end?
to accelerate time to market in terms of, being able to build the right product to bring that to market and launch it in at a state where we believed it should be to really take up competition, to do it right, or as right as you can with the competencies and expertise you have, etc. But to accelerate both, like being feature complete, at least in the first product we wanted to launch. And everyone says, yeah, we have to, MVP and all that stuff, but have a solid enough product to go after the type of market we want, because, being in an enterprise game, there are just certain expectations around compliance and security, and of course a feature set, etc. So for us, we just didn't. I mean, it wasn't enough just to bring a simple tool to the market. We wanted to create a platform, but also had to start with enough features to be relevant. So that was the one reason, and secondly also to at the same time then accelerate a go-to-market motion. And thirdly, we wanted to be global from day one. And going to US is just super expensive for a European green company. You learn a lot about how expensive it is, recruiting and hiring and onboarding and just finding an office, etc. But we wanted to be global from the very get-go, and want to establish foothold in the US from day one. So to ensure that we had the capabilities to do so, we decided to raise.
What are three of the biggest lessons that you've learned so far from scaling the business to roughly 5 million ARR?
It's an excellent question. Hopefully I can boil it down to three. I think not prioritized, but number one, really remember to look out the window and ensure that the entire organization also looks out of the window. And with that, I mean focus on market, focus on competition, and most importantly, focus on your customer. And we learned the hard way that, scaling, you end up focusing a lot about processes and bureaucracies and a lot of internal things, because you believe that's also a way to scale, to build like a scalable foundation and a scalable organization. You have to define playbooks and processes, etc. But I just experienced that if you're not really eager and pushing for, please look out the window. Who are you doing this for? I mean, really ask yourself the question, are the customer going to get more value out of this? You end up focused on yourself rather than the customer. So really remember to look out the window and face the world, and not just face yourself. So that's number one. I think number two, find your own way of scaling, not applying everyone else's playbook and everyone else's way of scaling. There's so much good content out there, and there's so much helpful content, and so many do's and don'ts and 10 tips to scale faster, etc. But I think it's important that you really focus on your own business first, your own challenges, and take, one step at a time towards the next goal, because everyone wants to grow and scale so fast, but not all strategies or tactics or playbooks can be applied to your business. And I think you have to learn there's no quick fix, there's no pill for you to take just to cure it all. There's only hard work, stick to the plan, one step at a time. It's so easy to get distracted and pulled in so many different directions that you get lost. And number three, no one knows tomorrow. I learned that the hard way. I mean, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. I really learned the hard way that it's not about the plan you have or start. It's when you get punched in the face, what do you do then? I mean, how do you then face the challenge? How do you then, take the next step?
Thanks for sharing those. And I think it's a great segue into probably, as an entrepreneur, many entrepreneurs get punched in the face a lot, right? But you had one big punch in the face where you mentioned, you're a cancer survivor, and this happened obviously whilst you were building AskCody. And I think, in fact, just as you were kind of raising capital or had successfully raised, you'll tell it better than I. And I remember actually when we first spoke, because I'm delighted that you're now, part of the SaaStock founder membership, and we had that kind of initial call and conversation. You told your story, and I thought, wow, what a remarkable story, remarkable entrepreneur, and glad that we've been able to now share this with the SaaStock and SaaS Revolution community. So yeah, why don't you take it from here and just tell us a little bit about like what happened and finding out that you had cancer.
Yeah, it's a crazy story. I mean, someone once said that there's enough meat on the bone there to create like a whole new season of Silicon Valley on HBO, because it's so crazy that you can't make it up. We in 2019, as I mentioned, we launched AskCody, or relaunched AskCody in 2017 as a meeting management platform, and things took off fast. We were in a great trajectory, doubling, scaling, growing the organization, growing a number of customers. We really had found both a great product and had a great product market fit, and also really had found a way to onboard and get new customers in a really scalable and predictable way. Like, it was textbook. I mean, what everyone reads in the manuals and in the playbooks in SaaS, really found a model that worked and really consistently hit our revenue targets. So to continuously fuel that, we wanted to go out and raise that big round to really help us scale. So in spring 2019, we initiated a fundraiser and went to market and talked with a lot of VCs, met a lot of great people out there, and different opportunities and possibilities started to arise. And in July and August, we were down to a handful of partners that wanted to support us in this journey and wanted to back us, and we received different term sheets. And finally, in August, we signed the term sheets with a large US VC that could really help us like scale and take it to the next step, not just with pure cash or money, but also with competencies and experience, especially around scaling in the US. We signed the term sheets on August 23, 2019 on a Friday. I spent a couple of weeks in the US, both and this fundraiser being with the US team, but also being at a large expo in Orlando. So I mean, it was just crazy times, going in and out of the booth, going to the hotel room to have conversations with VCs and talk back with my investors in Denmark, etc. But things came out just, I mean, as you dream of. I mean, that was time of my life. No sleep, a lot of coffee, but a lot of fun and super exciting. My brother and I, my brother is the co-founder of the company, signed the term sheets on a Friday. I came home to Denmark that weekend, and I kind of had like a feeling that there's just something wrong, and I couldn't figure out what it is, but I just knew inside that there was something I had to go talk to a doctor about. I had something in my throat, but I thought air condition, traveling, jet lag. I mean, now is a good time to get a flu, right? I told my wife that weekend that, I think I should go see a doctor. And then luckily my son, who was 2 at that time, he had to go to the doctor on a Monday to get his vaccine. And my wife is super smart, so she called the doctor and made an appointment at 8:00. So she knew that she could get me to be there as well at 8, because I mean, otherwise I was just found excuses for not being there because I was super busy at the company. And my son get his vaccination, and then I asked the doctor, could you please look at my throat? Because, I mean, give me something to cure this. I'm super busy right now. 5 minutes later, she literally just pushed the big red button and said, I'm pretty sure you have cancer. Because she could definitely feel something in my throat that shouldn't be there. Mm. Fast forward a couple of hours going through blood tests and examinations and a ton of different stuff. The doctors were pretty clear about I should start to prepare myself on being a cancer patient. And I was like, yeah, no way. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm a superhero. Of course, I'm not a cancer patient. What is this? And a couple of days later, when like test results started to roll in, it was pretty clear that this was bad. So I was signed up for an operation already on Friday that week, and got a big tumor removed at my throat. That's also why I have this big scar. Mm-hmm. And a week later, after going through my scans and everything, they get the final report, or the final test results, that I had cancer in stage 4, meaning that's the final step before the end of it. I had like 8 tumors in my throat. I had 4 tumors in my lungs and my chest, one on the back of my heart, the size of a tennis ball. The one that got removed here had the size of a golf ball. And my entire pelvis, my bones were also infected. So I had cancer everywhere in my body. And the doctor looked at me and said, best guess, you might have 2 weeks left. Really, we don't know what to do. Yeah. And I said, the doctor, that's unfair. I mean, that's the wrong odds. What do we do here? And luckily, the chief doctor at the hospital said, no one dies at my watch. So if you're willing to invest, I want to invest, but you have to be willing to pay with your life, because there might be a chance that I'm going to kill you with the treatment. So you have to be willing to pay the highest price. Otherwise, there's nothing we can do. So I looked at my wife, and we pretty fast agreed that that was a price that we were willing to pay. And then I went into to treatment.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's yeah, like so I've heard it before, but hearing it again, and just in terms of like being told 2 weeks to live, or having all the tumors in your body, can't imagine. And I'm sure actually there's probably some cancer survivors listening to this that could probably relate, but I think most of us can't relate. I guess kind of picking from it, that initial reaction as an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurs kind of probably innately think we're invincible, and to kind of hear such news that actually no, you're not invincible, right?
Exactly.
And that's got to be a shock. If you were told you had 2 weeks to live, you had this doctor, sounds like an amazing doctor.
Yep, she was.
Gave you this option.
Yeah.
You took it. How long? Obviously, you recovered.
Yes.
How long was the recovery period? And then let's get into some practicalities. And then if I'm also right, I don't remember. Feel free to correct me. Was there like a remission, if that's the correct terminology? At some point, did it come back at some point?
No, I mean, and of course, there's a lot of follow-up stories here. First and foremost, let's circle back to the term sheets we signed to have that one covered. Because what the hell do you do when you just signed a $10 million A round investment in your company, and 3 days later get diagnosed with cancer? I mean, no one can make that story up. I mean, or that's just too wild. Of course, that doesn't happen. We had a board meeting at on Monday. I went to the doctor. On Tuesday we had a board meeting. I got the final result that it was cancer 30 minutes prior to that board meeting. So I started out by raising my hand at the board meeting, say I have something to announce, and I just said it as it was. And I mean, people were shocked. I mean, what is this, a bad joke? I mean, what is this? People didn't know how to react, of course. But I was like, it is what it is. Let's figure out what to do with this. I mean, okay, new challenge. What do we do? And of course, we agreed on that we needed to tell the investor. I mean, being completely transparent and honest about this. So we called them right away and say, okay, we were going into due diligence. I have something to share first. Prior to going through the checklist here, I've got cancer. And there's like, no way, is that a bad joke? I mean, didn't you know that on Friday? I mean, it just don't happen overnight. I mean, what is this? And they were shocked. I mean, they kind of laughed about it, because I mean, how to react and respond in such situation.
Yeah.
Of course, they had to circle back and with their partners and LPs, and came back a week and a half after several dialogues and follow-ups, and they were also like, can you just postpone operation? Like, no. And decided to pull the term sheets, because all of a sudden I was no longer an asset, I was a liability, and they looked at it completely from a risk perspective. And that's when you learn that. Well, that's the first time where you really. I wasn't angry at cancer, but at that day I was really angry at cancer and the entire situation, because cancer took away that $10 million investment from me.
How did you feel towards them as well? Was there like no hard feelings, understood it was a business decision, or were you a little bit like, guys, where's the human kind of touch here?
They were respectful. They were human. They also checked in afterwards. I mean, how are you doing? From a business perspective, I completely understand their decision. It's just, I mean, raising capital and working with VCs, working with investors. I mean, it's just business. It's not personal. It's just business. I mean, it is what it is. I completely understand their risk analysis. So from a risk perspective, I mean, I couldn't do like a key man insurance or anything like that, because that was just impossible. So I completely understand. But at that moment in time, having to really fight for your life, and then at the same time, also, jeopardizing your company, because we were burning, of course, more than we made.
Yeah.
That was part of the plan. We were doubling, we were growing, we were scaling. So we needed to fuel the engine. So now we have to fight for your life in two parallel tracks. That was just surreal.
Yeah. And so the most important battle was obviously, as you said, using your words, you had to fight for your life. You had to have an operation. How much time did you have off the business? How did you feel about that? I know, I think from other entrepreneurs, even myself, like, when you've been sick, that you worry about how the business can cope without you, right? Because you're the founder, you're the key man, or woman, or person. What were your feelings like? How much time off, and how did the business cope without you?
It's a great question, and really relevant question, and there's a lot of learnings there. And just to answer perhaps the question you asked before, how was treatment? I spent 8-9 months going through chemo and radiation, and then came out as a new human on the other end. But then I have to figure out, who am I, and rebuild myself, because I was really struggling. My conditions were really bad the first month or so after I finished treatment. My wife had to put on my clothes, because I couldn't take on my socks and my shoes myself. The first 6 weeks the first 6 weeks in chemo was terrible. Honestly, I can't remember that much about it, because it was just a full pull. The treatment there was like, it's a full pull. It's a last chance. They give you like the big treatment, and then cross your fingers, right? So really, I can't remember that much for those from those 6 weeks. I was mostly spending them at home or at hospital. And after that, I had a new scan, and scannings and findings were good, because we could see that the tumors were slowly getting smaller, and the treatment was working. So the chemo treatment could be put down at a more human level. At least that's what I thought, or that's what I was told. That was more like friendly to me and more human. So I decided, of course, to get back into the business. And really, that was my coping mechanism. That was my way to survive. I really had a hard time looking at the mirror and accepting that I was being a cancer patient, because I spent 10 years on building this character of being an entrepreneur and a superhero. That's what entrepreneurs does. You build this character around yourself, right? And everybody talks about founder branding, etc. I was the founder of AskCody. That was my identity. I couldn't be anything else. And all of a sudden, I looked into the mirror, and I just saw this guy that I couldn't recognize. I didn't know who that guy was. And I really wanted to be an entrepreneur, because I fought so hard to make that my character and my identity, right? So my coping mechanism was to really escape from being a cancer patient. I couldn't connect with being a cancer patient. I didn't want to go to sessions with other cancer patients and talk with them. I couldn't identify as that. So I had to go into the business to feel myself and be me. So that was definitely a coping mechanism to escape from cancer. The consequence of that was that I spent all my all my resources on trying to be someone I couldn't be. Meaning I also got lost there, because I spent all my resources wrongly, so I couldn't recover. And that actually ended up being close to be the end of it, because I spent all my waking time on trying to be an entrepreneur. I couldn't be. So I was being no one for nobody, and especially being nobody for myself, which I should have been. So I spent every 1 week in treatment, and then 1 week trying to work, really just being a ghost. Everyone here was super friendly and kind and helpful, and it was so overwhelming. Literally all the colleagues here, shaved themselves, so we had the same haircut. Everyone was being bald at that time. Of course, it gave an enormous support to me and my family, but I spent my resources wrongly. doing that for a couple of months, I mean, things just got worse and worse. And as I said, I was being a ghost. I should have just stayed at bed. I didn't. So I ended up running out of fuel and resources, which in the end caused that I had to spend a couple of weeks at hospital trying to recover from spending my resources wrong. And then completely pulled the plug. So I had, in the end, I think 2-3 months being completely off the grid with no phone, no email, no text, no social media, no nothing. My wife took care of my phone and texted my network and friends that we hope you make it, but don't call him, we call you.
Did your wife give you any updates during that time? Say the business is still going, Allan. You know, it's still. Or did it at that point where you're like, I don't care, and like, what was your mind?
Honestly, I didn't care. I mean, I could only focus on one thing, and that was, make it to another day.
Yeah.
My wife is in the business as well. She's been with AskCody for 8 years. So of course, we talk a lot about AskCody at home as well. Yeah. But at that time, it didn't matter. I mean, it was purely survival mode.
Yeah. What was the impact then of you during your recovery period back to full health? The time off work. How did that impact work? Like in any negative or positive way?
It impacted in many different ways. And the thing is that, I mean, COVID is just around the corner here, in this storyline here. At that time, when I was being diagnosed and going through treatment, of course, we needed to raise money to continue the growth. I mean, the growth was there. We were still on the same trajectory, despite me being at the bench for a time. So we had to fuel that. And as I mentioned, we have great investors and partners. So they backed us, especially the Danish Growth Fund. I mean, we called them for a meeting, told that, hey, we lost this A round on the finish line. We don't think now is the time to go out and start a new fundraiser. I mean, the founders is out, so now is definitely not the good time. And they were like, hey, you go recover. We take care of the business. I mean, this is on us. We figure out something. And those two guys there, I mean, I owe them everything for that move. That was amazing to feel their support for them supporting the business financially at that time. And the thing were, I mean, I think we hired 25 people in that time when I was being off and not here, being a ghost. And people were doing amazing to keep like the growth. My brother, Stefan, who is also the co-founder of the company, took over some of my responsibilities. Karen, our CEO at that time, took on others, and those two just worked tirelessly throughout this period to continue growing, scaling, recruiting, onboarding, working with investors, the board, etc. That they were amazing to take care of the business, and we did well. I mean, we continued a growth rate of around 80% during that time, over that time when I was out. So I mean, on positive, that we continued. Negatively, it's hard to be in a ship with no captain. It can go on for so long, but at some point you need direction, you need guidance, you need someone to take the long-term decisions or to look into the horizon. A company at that stage needs a founder. Like the founder, not a hired C-level or something, but the founder. I mean, what is this company about? What is the vision? Where are we going? Take the hard decisions. Inspire, set the mood, work with culture, etc. So it can only go on for so long, and there's no doubt that we also took a hit after that time, scaling, hiring heavily, but in a survival mode, because I mean the company were in a survival mode because I had to survive, right? So I mean they were also fighting my fight. That ended up being a struggle, of course, that I was out for almost a year.
You mentioned something earlier around key man insurance when we were talking about the term sheet from the original kind of investor that was offering the 10 million term sheet.
Yeah.
Now, was it the case that you didn't have, well, first of all, what is key man insurance for the listeners? Did you have it at that time? Do you have it now? Yeah.
I mean, I have it as a part of, the the shareholders agreement and the agreement we have with our current investors. So yes, there are key man insurance on me, but at that time I couldn't go out to create a new one. And I'm quite sure that if I go out to an insurance company today and ask for a key man insurance, they will say nope, because there's just too big a risk. And yeah, for the listeners, as part of not signing the term sheets or the LOI initially, but finalizing and closing the deal, often the key man insurance is a part of it, because the investors invest in the founder, at least at that stage, because it's the founder who drives the business, right? So that's just a part of the final closing agreement, that there needs to be an insurance of the key man if something happened, a key man event happened. But I mean, I couldn't provide such insurance at that time. And I think that was also part of the risk mitigation, risk analysis that they did.
What does this journey, surviving cancer, mean to you now, your perspective on life, and how you lead AskCody?
That is a big question, and it means, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of meat on that bone. I've always invested heavily in myself, and I worked on myself. Karen, our former CEO and now an advisor to the company, is a philosopher, and she really worked a lot with me on, who am I? How do I do things? So I always invested in myself, and having that as a foundation going into this thing was really helpful in terms of having the tools to survive also mentally when things got hard. And afterwards, it's a cliche to say it changed me, because in many ways it has, but it also in many ways it hasn't. I'm definitely a better leader. I'm a better hopefully a father, a husband, person to myself. I try to take care of myself in more ways. I know that I have limitations. I'm not a superhero. I've run out of Superman juice. I think most importantly, as I also mentioned in the beginning, it's not about the plan. It's about what you do when you get punched in the face. And I think that's perhaps the biggest learning, that no one knows tomorrow. No one can promise tomorrow. No one knows what happens. So let's take tomorrow as it is. And we wake up in the morning and that we see, face it as it is. I think that's the most important thing that I've learned, that I try to include in as many aspects as possible. Despite us trying to make structures around everything and really plan for the future, it is just guessing. And I think the most important thing, how you react when you face it. And then how you meet the different challenges when they are there. I think that's definitely one of the most important thing. But also just enjoying life. We are here so shortly. Yeah. No one knows what happens tomorrow. You can fall in love, or you can win the lottery. You can get a big customer can churn, or you can get cancer. So many things can happen tomorrow that we should really force ourselves to ensure that we get enough out of this moment right now. Not just, party like hell, but also, spend time with the people you love. It's ridiculous that you have to, balance on the edge to learn these things. But I spent New Year's Eve going into 2020 on the hospital with antibiotics in one arm and chemo in another arm, and I couldn't put on socks on myself. And I lied there all alone with my family being at home. And I can guarantee the one thing you don't miss is your big fancy watch, or your big fancy car, or your big fancy house, or any other thing. You miss being yourself. You miss your good health, and you miss the people you love. And if you have those two things, your good health, and you have the people you love, you have great relations with people you trust, and you surround yourself with people that you have confidence in, that you love, and that you have a meaningful relationship with, then you are a rich man. And I think that's the most important thing in all this, that we work so hard, and we fight so hard to achieve something that manifests in something, like a watch, or fancy glasses, or a fancy car, or that nice holiday or something, to put the photo on Instagram. But when you're really struggling and you're really on the edge, it doesn't mean a thing. What means or what is important is that you have your good health and that you have meaningful relations. And I try to remember myself that on a daily basis, because having those two things, you have it all, and then it's then that's a good foundation to build upon.
Yeah, no, definitely. Look, I mean, I appreciate so much that, you know, sharing the story and your resilience and obviously surviving, and how, you know, you're now back in the seat at AskCody and growing this business, and, you know, with ambition and all of these things. And I think obviously it's a very poignant conversation and story that you just kind of shared. I think it's not appropriate perhaps to go into the quick fire round now. It doesn't seem like the best kind of segue, and I think it's probably, you know, apt that this is a good kind of ending point for the podcast. I mean, a couple of sort of like just quick things, and actually, even though I know that you're a member of the SaaStock founder membership, but I think also it doesn't feel like necessarily sort of like appropriate to
it's fine. I mean, we can talk about everything. I mean, I like to share, because I mean, it is part of me now. That's also part of my story. So
well, I guess, I mean, this is how we first connected, right? So we had a call. You were looking to join the SaaStock founder membership. You've been a member like maybe for a year now or something like that. But like let us know. Yeah, why did you want to join? Why did you join? You know, how has it been?
First of all, it's been amazing to get to know, you know, that there are people like me out there that you know, fight the same fights and struggle like I and we do. It is super lonely to be a founder in a SaaS company, and it's so much more fun to learn and grow and share together with like-minded people that you know, also wake up every morning and are super ambitious to really build something meaningful and great. To connect with such peers and to learn from them and to get inspiration from them, that's just super inspirational. It's been amazing. We have a great founder circle. I get to know you and your team, and it's really inspirational. And I think the most important thing, I also shared that with you, it's real people. I mean, there's so much good content out there on the internet on how to build a billion-dollar company and how to build a unicorn. But it's like, I mean, those are the outliers. I mean, those are the special ones. There's so many like me who are just, I mean, average Joes in building a SaaS company. We are happy if we can get to 25% year-over-year growth, if we can get to 5, if we can get to 10. And it's so nice to meet, I mean, other real people that, you know, are at the same stage to adjust, I mean, really fight to get the next $1 million in ARR, to find that next customer, to stay profitable, to find that next replacement of a key hire, etc. Yeah, having those really like-minded, real genuine people close to you is just super valuable.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, and we really appreciate that you're you know, one of our great founder members at the SaaStock founder membership. Allan, it's conscious of time here. Like, for those that have listened to this podcast, want to reach out to you, say maybe they're going through issues themselves, whether it's health or not, or they just want to reach out to you based on listening to the story. Where can people find you online?
Always welcome to reach out on email or LinkedIn or other social media. My Instagram and Facebook are pretty private stuff, but reach out on LinkedIn or email or WhatsApp or whatever. I'm happy to help both others that are, you know, trying to build and scale a SaaS company, but also that might struggle with more personal things. Awesome.
Well, Allan Mørch, founder of AskCody, thank you so much for joining the SaaS Revolution Show today and sharing your story with our listeners. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.